Welcome. Double Dry Hop Brooklyn coming at you live. Um, Thought we'd start our inaugural streaming clip with a special beer, a beer that I am very much fond of from Other Half, which is um, a brewery that started, I think it started in Gowanus around here. And it's called, Other Half is the brewery, and the name of the beer is uh, Double Dry Hopped Double Citra Daydream. Oh, yeah, baby. Look at that. This can of the dankness. Yep. It's actually not going to be that dank, I don't think. It's going to be rad. Canned on March 16th, 2021. Obviously, today is today is I think today is April 4th. That makes it technically I think that's Easter this year. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, I've got my rinsed and ready to go Other Half limited edition Tiku 3.0 beer snifter. Hello? Delicious. Okay. I got this particular beer about a week or two back, so still very fresh. Let's get into it. All right. I love this part, the sound effect. Listen on the mic. Oh yeah. All right, here we go. I like to agitate, particularly when it's a double dry hopped beer, because, oh my goodness, that is about, oh holy smokes, oh, I just want to live in there. Big, huge Citra, a little bit of paint vanilla. Just, yeah, a lot of Citra. We'll get into the hop characteristics, the specific hop characteristics of this in a second. Let's let that settle down for a minute. I'm just going to get my beer light. I know it's a little bit tough for you to see. Let me see if I can take it down. Very hazy. Some nucleation of the bubbles. Let me see if I can get that. Still kind of bright, but that's a pretty good representation of what I see, although it definitely doesn't translate as cleanly to the screen. It is a deep, burnt orange, hazy as all get out. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see through that. Big Citra on the nose, which obviously you'd expect from a beer called, what was this called? Double Citra Daydream. So, let's talk a little bit about the profile and characteristics. Like I said, pours like a deep candy orange, almost like burnt amber. Double dry hopped, so you know that this is going to be something that anytime something's double dry hopped, it means that they add more hops during secondary fermentation. And I've heard mixed sort of take on things. Some people say that the second addition of hops doesn't affect the flavor or the mouthfeel or the body or anything like that, and that it only affects the nose. That's sort of the way that I had it explained to me. But I've read more and more recently, and I'm not prepared to cite any sources, but I've read perhaps more anecdotally, that the second edition of hops does in fact affect the flavor. I haven't experimented, so I don't know for myself. But that's why double dry hop beers cost a little bit more than regular beers, because you're using more ingredients, and hops are not cheap. Oh my god, I want to live in there. Doesn't that look? Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that look like a delightful, like, I don't know, like creamsicle kind of thing? Isn't that cool? It's like candy, adult candy, not that kind of candy. Here we go. All right, let's. Oh man, I just want to savor it. Oh, it's amazing. I really do love Citra. Citra's a really great point of entry for people who are trying to get into beer or IPAs. Particularly if you're keen on, I would make the argument that particularly if you're keen on like lambics and sours or fruited beers, that big sort of orange, citrusy, tropical flavor. It's not as jarring a transition as like, that sort of, you know, malty sweetness that you'd get in like a Marzen beer or something like that. Anyways, head's starting to settle down now. I dig it. Let's give it a sipperoni. Ooh, I mean, real great fruit juice flavor. Um, I mean, God, I wish that I could squeeze oranges and something this tasty would come out. Just look at that. Look at how creamy and frothy the head is. The smell, dear Lord, the smell, overwhelming, overwhelmingly awesome. So let's let that rest for a second. It's important to know my thermometer kind of crapped out, but that beer was stored at 40 degrees, and I left it out for several minutes beforehand. So it's probably closer to 50 now, which, based on the guidelines, is the sort of prescribed. 45 to 50 is sort of the sweet spot I hear for IPAs. Uh, the alcohol by volume on this one, let's talk about that. 8.5% alcohol by volume. It does not drink like it's 8.5%. And anytime I drink a beer that's like above 6.5 or 7, and it doesn't taste boozy, um, you know, that to me is indicative of like the brewer's a genius. Like it's really special. It's easy to brew something that's high alcohol. You know, it's difficult to brew something that's high alcohol and complex and entertaining, I think. This particular beer was brewed by Other Half, as I mentioned, at 195 Center Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. Also, don't you know that according to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy because of the risk of blah, blah, blah? Okay. I love their artwork too. I have said this for a long time, but I would love to get like more shirts with this sort of embroidery on it. I just love them. I've got the pink and I've got a black one, and they both have a little broccoli buddy just sort of chilling there. And I dig broccoli. I eat broccoli every day, man. I have broccoli with hot sauce. I have broccoli with soy sauce. What the hell are we talking about? Okay. Anyways, so let's get into some of the specifics of this beer. A little bit of a headache today. So we mentioned Citra hops, and I think Citra hops are a really great place to start for people who may not know a lot about beer, just because they, even at their worst, like when they're not used in a way that's fully balanced, like they have the that's orange citrus character brings a lot to the table. And yes, it's a little bitter, but if you've ever had grapefruit or something like that before, you do that is a flavor that you can that I think people adjust to pretty quickly. And IPAs oftentimes are measured in international bitterness units, IBUs. And I actually don't have a measurement on that like right now. Let me see. I don't have any officially recorded IBUs on this. I don't have a specific gravity. I don't have anything like that. Um, but what I can tell you is that this is brewed with Citra pellets and finished with Citra lupulin powder. With and you know that makes it super flavorful. So a lot of people will ask, like, okay, what's lupulin powder? Well, um, lupulin powder is sort of the concentrated bit of it's the it's the dust or the powder or whatever it is where the oils and acids that make IPAs taste great. Um, it's where those flavor profiles live. There's the hop cone itself, and then there's the powder sort of on the outside. And basically, hop growers have figured out a way in the last, I don't know, I think I first saw lupulin powder in like 2015, 2016, maybe 2017. They've figured out a way, and I don't know exactly what is involved in the process, but they've figured out a way to take that uh, the powder and the oils that sort of exist on the outside of the hop cone, consolidate it, create pellets out of it, make it really dense, really flavorful, so that it travel and happens to travel very well as a pellet as well. And then they sell that to different manufacturers who will use it to brew beer. And we're starting to see more and more of that. Other half has a line of HDHC, high density hop charge, I think it's called. And those are hop pellets of various varietals, and I think they do much the same thing. And it's a way of really, really adding a very intense flavor burst to your brew. Anyways, let's talk about this in a second. I just want to get another sip in here now. Because of the lactose in this, the oats and the lactose, that lends itself not just to the some of the sweetness characteristic of the beer. It's not overly sweet, but it adds to the mouthfeel, and it helps create a longer finish because it's a little bit. I don't know. I think maybe more unctuous is probably the best way to put it. Like a little bit more oily, like it coats your mouth, kind of like the way that not like citrus juice coats your mouth, but like you ever like when you peel a grapefruit or an orange and that delightful smell is on your hands for the rest of the day. That oil that you squeeze out of the rind, I don't know. In my brain, like that's kind of how I picture the mouthfeel of this. It's like a thicker than water type of liquid that just coats everything and imparts a ton of flavor. Let's go in. Oh wow, man! As it warms up a little bit, it opens up. Just I think in part because of the lupulin and in part because of the characteristic of Citra in general, like that is a very, very flavorful beer. And like I said at the beginning, does not taste like it's 8.5%. So be careful. But the mouthfeel and the finish, let's get in there and qualify it. Long finish. It does get boozier the longer the it does seem to taste a little bit more alcoholic. the longer it sort of sits, or the more time sort of elapses from the initial sip. But everything from the beginning, in my opinion, is just like boom citrus, like boom big flavor. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Very creamy. Not so. One of the interesting things in this is I'm curious to see if there's any malt used at all, because there really isn't. It's not. It There is kind of a sweetness to it, but it's not cloying. It's not. It doesn't taste artificial. It's very subtle. It's very nuanced, and that nuanced sweetness, I think, in no small part, is what lends itself to the character of this beer, because it's not smack you in the face. The part that smacks you in the face, excuse me, is the citrus, right? Finish my pour. I haven't been able, since I started doing this, I haven't been able to stop doing it, but I peel the labels off and I save them. Even on beers that I've had before, I love it. Like, I would love to get t-shirts embroidered with this print or whatever. I think it's really cool. They have amazing art. There aren't very many breweries where I'm like, the can is as tasty as the label is as pretty as the beer is tasty. But there you go. You know, that's beautiful. And it comes off so nicely. You can wear it as here, here, here. We'll do that. Whew. Pretty tasty. I hope everybody's having a nice Easter so far. This is the first other half beer I've reviewed. I did do a podcast run this morning on on Thin Man Brewing Company's beer double IPA called Bliss. It's pretty fun. It was tasty, nothing crazy. That was also 8%, but I gotta tell you, this kind of makes me, to a certain degree, it shouldn't be that one beer's ability to excel takes away from another, but it's making me rethink my scoring paradigm, because I want to give this. I mean, it sucks that right out the gate I rate one of other half's strongest beers, because it's going to make it look like I give amazing reviews all the time, and I kind of do, but that's only because I drink things that I really like, that I'm interested in. You know, life's too short to drink bad beer. I want to make sure that I'm enjoying myself, and I want to make sure that it tastes good and it's entertaining and that it challenges me a little bit. You know, that's just my philosophy on drinking beer. Some people like one thing, they want to crush it. It's cool, man. You know, you do you. I do appreciate how beer culture at large has sort of borrowed from the wine industry, and they've got these long stem glasses so you're not holding it and heating it up. Hot beer is pretty gross, but really cold beer, not very good either. So, food for thought. All right, let's get into a little bit of the history. So we talked a little bit about lupulin powder and lupulin pellets. It looks like, I think that was started in the Pacific Northwest by Yakima. They're one of the major hop purveyors, as I understand it. I don't know who sources other half's hops. I do know one hop grower. Shout out to Chad Meigs at the Vineyard. You know, he grows and harvests hops, and I know that he sells to Strong Rope in Gowanus as well. And you should check out Strong Rope. They're interesting because they've sort of begrudgingly succumbed to the IPA craze, but they have a smoked ale that I had with a French onion soup that was just like it was off the chain, baby. It was amazing. It was one of the best pairings I've ever had, and it was really good. So, uh, we'll definitely get them on here. But yeah, that's a they're a really great place, and Chad sells them hops. He's awesome. Okay, Yakima Chief, one of the largest hop producers in the country, knows that brewers are always looking for an edge. In an effort to provide brewers with an efficient alternative to traditional hop pellets, they created a process that separates lupulin from the hop leaf. There's no mention of what that process is. I'm curious to know. I wonder if it's the same process that dispensaries are using to separate the terpenes and cannabinoids and cannabinol from the cannabis cone. I mean, they're related, right? I mean, not directly, like not one for one, but we're talking about two plants that are not too far away from one another on an evolutionary sort of perspective. The highly concentrated result is known as lupulin powder, also called LUPULN2. Delightful. I do wish that the hop growers would adopt similar moniker, the similar sort of taxonomy for naming their hop varietals that the marijuana producers do. Like if they, I don't know what, like if you cross Girl Scout cookies with, mint, you get mint Girl Scout or mint cookies or whatever it is. I would kind of, it does make it a little bit easier to sort of intuit the genealogy of the hops of the cannabis plant, and I think it would be amazing to be able to do that as well with hops and beer. While with its technology, Yakima Chief can extract the lupulin from any hop varietal. Thus, lupulin powder is not a new hop varietal, which is a common misconception. That's really good. And I'm on hopculture.com, and I'm sort of reading from there. Rather, it's a more efficient way of extracting flavor and aroma from popular existing varietals like Mosaic, Simcoe, and Citra. Interesting. Interesting that they picked those. Let me see what the date is on this article. I don't know if I have a date. Shucks. It does say that Other Half was one of the breweries to start using lupulin powder. That's cool. Oh, many brewers prefer whole cone or pellet hops. Lupulin reduces the potential for the off flavors that plant matter sometimes introduces to a beer. That's so fascinating. I never would have guessed. So I guess, sort of like wine, there's depending from one year to another. I guess that there are variations in your hop character. And we all know one of the things that made Budweiser so big is that Budweiser has found a way to be consistent across the board. Like, no changes ever in their beer. I don't particularly care for their beer, but the flavor really hasn't changed much. And that's actually really tough to do, to brew something that consistent, because there are little living creatures in there that have a say in what your thing does. And by that, I guess I mean yeast, but you know what anyways. Anyways, off flavors and plant matter. So that's really fascinating. And because lupulin powder offers twice the twice the resin content of traditional whole leaf and hop pellet products, it requires less product to make the same volume of beer. Well, that's just good economics, right? Less in the way of ingredients, same flavor, more consistency. Like, what's not to love, you know? That's really cool. I love that. But yeah, it looks like lupulin powder, one of the early purveyors, maybe the first purveyor, was Yakima Chief. They're one of the largest hop producers in the country. That's so cool. There's a lot of, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of really interesting hop varieties coming out of New Zealand right now. Most recent one that I've tasted is Strata. And I know other half is doing a lot of experimentation with Strata, like by itself, in their small Strata everything. I don't know if they've released an all Strata everything, a double dry hopped all Strata everything. I don't know what they've released, but I know that they're using it both by itself and also with other hop varietals. So really excited about that. I need to get a little bit more familiar with that hop before I say anything about it one way or another. I enjoyed what I had though, which was I think it was the small Strata everything. Don't quote me on that. Anyways, back to our research. Wow. Not a lot of flavor change. I will say the finish for me, maybe I misread it the first time, but that sort of booziness that I described before, that was subtle. It's sort of given way to it. To me, it tastes more like concentrated citrus oil, but I mean that in like the nicest way possible. That kind of almost bitter, but not unpleasantly so type of flavor. Really enjoying it. I mean, this is amazing beer. We are going on. I don't even know anymore, man. This is my first stream. I don't know where anything is. I don't know how to tell where anything is. Whatever. I got my fan cooler on. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. 27 minutes, 57 seconds. Okay. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Cool, 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 cool. I'm going to be reviewing more and more. I definitely think that I'm going to give this beer a rating at the end. Like I said at the beginning, no, this is a tough one to sort of start with because it's so effing good. This is my glass right now, so you can sort of see the foam on the head kind of hanging out. Still big citrus nose. I will say I really like to smell my double dry hop beers at the beginning. Maybe this is my imagination, but I really do feel like those the nose on a double dry hop beer, excuse me, tends to depart rather quickly once you open it. And for those of you who are interested in shipping or trading double dry hop beers, you know, those from a chemical perspective, the esters and whatnot that give it those fruity flavors, that or aromas, that's the chemical composition, or what's called esters. They're a unique, well, not necessarily unique, but they're there's a chemical there's an empirical chemical formula for esters in general. They do chemistry, and in chemistry they do chemistry is code for saying that they're the opposite of inert. And that is to say, this is a really roundabout way of saying that they're fragile and they will interact with any number of things, and you need to get to those beers very quickly. I've heard that if they're stored properly, you can get 6 to 9 months. But if you have a really well known IPA, like I've known people who stored Heady Topper for a year and they go to drink it at the end of it, like a year later, it it's weird. It's off. It's like it's just not right. Like it's not the best that it could be. Some beers do a much better job when it comes to aging. IPAs, double IPAs, Imperial IPAs, in my mind, are not the style to age. You want to drink them fresh. You want to drink them with friends. You want to have great conversations about them. And really, for me, 6 months. I will absolutely tamp down on my expectations if I'm drinking an IPA, a double dry hopped IPA, longer than 6 months. Now, if it's like a double Imperial IPA, you might get some more time because that's generally higher alcohol by volume. So, like, I don't know, 120-minute Dogfish Head, for example, that'll keep longer, but that's not double dry hopped either. So, just something to consider. Um, I'd like to have some guests on my show. Maybe some of my friends who I drank beer with, who I discovered beer with, will be interested in sort of tuning in. We're talking Ollie, Teddy, Drew, Denny, Graham. We're talking, the whole bunch. It would be really great to get everybody on the show and get everybody to try and drink a beer and give me their thoughts at the same time. I don't think I have an exceptional palate. I was just too intimidated to get into wine because I didn't own enough turtlenecks. And I think it's fascinating, and I super admire people who have refined palates. I don't know that I'm one of them. I'm just a guy who knows what he likes, and I really like what other half is doing. But I really like what the beer community at large is doing, and that's my credentials basically. I'd like to do an episode, I think, where I interview people and sort of talk to them about how they came to be interested in beer, like what their path was. My father was not a big beer drinker growing up. If anything, he did like bourbon or single malt scotch, and even then, it was only like 2 weeks of the year when we were in the Adirondacks. He was not a big drinker. I guess he had wine like at meals and stuff like that, but he was a Diet Coke guy, you know. We were an orange juice family growing up. Orange juice from concentrate, take it out of the freezer, you thaw it out, blah blah blah. But when I got to college, it was pretty quickly all that changed, and I'll never forget sort of tasting like a Belgian quad and being like, oh my goodness, what the heck is this? This tastes delicious. So I think that's an episode that I want to do. Maybe we'll do something at the end of, we'll do something down the road about that. But I think there's a lot of really interesting stories to be had there. At least I'm interested in them. So let's check in with our brouhaha. Where are we? Well, we got about maybe 40% left, maybe a little less. As it warms up, the real bold sweetness of the citrus sort of is transitioning to more of a boozy type of flavor as it warms up. And a lot of that's the chemistry, I think, from the double dry hop stuff. I'm not a chemistry specialist. I don't have a PhD or a master's or anything like that. I'm not a doctor. But alcohol and water, which are two components of beer, they do some interesting chemistry, and then the esters and the aldols, they do chemistry. It's just a whole thing. Well, maybe I'll do a show on that someday, but probably not because I don't think anybody's going to care. So, oh boy, oh man, I want to live in there. Look at that, just a beautiful color. It's like juice. And the crazy thing is, like, I know that there's the gender stereotype that says, like, women like fruity things or whatever. Well, bitch, I'm wearing pink. Um, if something's that complex, I don't care what anybody has to say about it. It's interesting and it's rad, is what I think. But historically, I have known people, and Citra beers are a great way to get people who think that they don't like beer or IPA into beer. And, you know, I will say that way back in the day, we're talking 2004, 2005. Um, I At school we would drink. This was a long time ago, but you know, I would order a Blue Moon wheat beer, and they'd put a slice of orange on it, and that's because it was, it was another option. The story's a little bit more complicated than that, but I'll save it for another time. Anyways, I say all that to say this: the Blue Moon with a bit of orange, like I don't know if that's necessarily brewed with citra hops. I'm sure there's something like a close facsimile or something like it. I think the malt character is obviously different than you would see in a beer like this. But if my memory serves me correctly, and it has been a very long time since I've had a Blue Moon, that sort of Vit beer, very light, very cloudy. There's a lot in common there, and when I used to, oh, excuse me, when I used to eat meat, um, I'd marinate chickens or Cornish game hens or whatever it is that I'm eating, whatever sort of fowl there is, in a Vit beer or a citrus beer, and it turned out lovely. It was really good. That's everything. As far as carbonation goes, let's talk about that a little bit. So, look at how there is some foam on the rim going down. I don't know what that's a factor of. I believe that if we're talking about classic uh, brewing metrics, there may be points deducted for not having it sort of leave a consistent ring down the glass. But I'm not a consistent drinker, and I don't believe that those standards were created with the intention of using these special glasses. These Teku glasses, the 3.0 glasses or whatever they're called, Teku, EKU. Last I saw, they're up to 3.0. I don't know what they're iterating on. It's not like Iron Man's armor. But this was designed by, it wasn't Spieglo. Spieglo did the other IPA glasses. These are designed to be, you can use these for stouts same as you can IPAs. At least that's what I've been told by people who are more knowledgeable than me. Personally, if I'm doing a stout, like a real stout, which is to say, like, I don't know, 7.5% up, 8% up, I will use either a snifter or a one of those sort of a snifter. That's what I'll use. Sorry, that's what I was trying to describe exactly as a snifter. But allegedly, you can use this as well for stouts. Cool. I haven't tried it. We'll definitely do a stout day. Other half, they do a lot with like Pastry Town. That's another big event. Green City is their big IPA festival. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm going to go 2 years without a Green City, man. That's crazy. That might have been that was one of my favorite events ever by a lot. I had a great time, great people, great fun. Definitely get the VIP so you can get in there early. And I got to tell you, the beers. So I'll tell a little bit of a story. So Green City, 2019. All right, VIP tick is $300 or something like that, like 200. I think it was 300 actually, and you get two. Or I can't remember if it was two. It was two or three big bottles of stout, limited edition stout, and you get. I think it was like a case basically of limited edition other half beer, and you gain early access an hour before everybody else to all the beers at Green City. And I went by myself and I got in pretty quickly, and I gave him my ticket. And well, I sorry, let me back up. This is I'm like a 4-year-old telling a story. Before that, they give you a 3 or 4 day window where you can go pick up your beers, your ticket, your swag, your merch, whatever. And I brought it all home. I threw it in the fridge, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, like this is probably like B stock. Like they probably just didn't roll out their best stuff. Like it's probably like I'm sure there's something wrong with it somewhere. No. Green Monster was delicious. I can't remember what the other beers were specifically by name, but I can tell you they were amazing. They were so good. The stout, when I got my new job, that was one of the beers I celebrated with. A banana stout of some sort. It was exceptional. It was so good. And I think I drank and traded a whole bunch of them. I gave a bunch away. Yeah, get your VIP ticket next time they let you know. I've never been to a Pastry Town event. I would have gone last year, but coronavirus was an emergent threat and I wasn't comfortable. And I think, quite frankly, Pastry Town was one of the last sort of events that took place, at least on my radar, before like the world shut down. I do have a couple Pastry Town beers here. One of them is, I think, called Straw Claps, and it's a banana milkshake IPA, and it's pretty good. If you like banana, you're gonna love it. If you don't like banana, get out of here. You're gonna hate it. But yeah. Anyways, I say all that to say this. Please go to Green City 2022. Come with me. Maybe I'll be famous enough where I have my own booth, but like you can go around, like get in line. They give you these cool cups. Like the merch is cool. Like I bought a hat, I bought a glass. I think I bought glasses for all my friends that came with me. Anyways, I hope you come. You can always crash with me if you need a place to stay. Hopefully they do it. There's not a lot going on right now. Anyways, on to happier things. Let's check in with our Imperial Oat Cream India Pale Ale. Lord have mercy. I am not angry at that. Delightful. I love it. Anyways, that's our show, I guess. Oh, I guess I have to rate it. Sorry, excuse me. Let me rate it. Take my phone. Let me see what we've got. I'm sure as time goes on, I'll develop more clear standards as far as like a rating rubric, but right now I'm sort of going off of overall impression. Double Citra Daydream. Double dry hopped, double Citra Daydream. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. And the reason I'm doing that is because honestly, like, who's not gonna like this? All right, let's see. So the comment I'm gonna leave is first live stream beer from double dry hopped Brooklyn. I don't know what that noise is. I hope nothing bad happens. Flavor profile. All right, let's look. Juicy, yes. Creamy, yes. Citrus, yes. Smooth, yes. Mouthfeel. That's a little vague, but I'll allow it. I think that's my heater. I don't know what the temp is. Um, Lactose. Yeah, I think that's all I want to add. Purchased at other half. Checking in. Boom! Verified adventure, level 57. My mom called me yesterday and she said, Noah, I see you're level 69 in a video game. And I said, Mom, that's not a video game, that's life. And then I thought to myself, do you remember who was it that was asking me the definition of irony? Anyways, boom, she's on there. If you like what you watched, like what you heard, please like, subscribe, mash that thumbs up button, leave a comment if I'm stupid, and we'll see you again soon for beer number 3. This is Double Dry Hopped in Brooklyn. Signing off if I can find the button. I'm just looking for the button to end things.